Alright, as you can see, there's no magazine currently in the magazine well. The bolt's been pulled back, and if I'm going to check with my finger, there's no round in the chamber. I'm going to let the bolt forward, because the first thing I'm going to remove is this rear dust cover, and the return spring for that bolt is extremely strong. And if I try to take off this rear dust cover with the bolt back, it's really likely to shoot off the end. So the first thing I'm going to do after letting that bolt forward is I'm going to take this release lever for the dust cover, which is currently parallel with the barrel, and I'm going to turn it while holding the dust cover forward onto the gun until this lever is 90 degrees to the barrel. And then I'm going to pull it straight out, which in this case is towards the camera, and then let the dust cover come off the back. When I pull the dust cover off, the return spring I was talking about is going to come with it, because inside at the back, I don't want to take it out to show you, I have a little rubber guard that's supposed to protect the dust cover and the spring from each other, preventing metal on metal contact and increasing the life of the gun. I'm completely blanking on what the name of that little rubber piece is, but I'll try to annotate it later. From there, I don't fully know the name of this, but I'm just going to call it the bolt and carrier group. It's the closest thing I can come up with. I'm going to pull that straight to the back. The what I'll call the carrier will separate from the bolt. Carrier being the top piece. Bolt, which I'm calling that because you can see the pin right there. Firing pin holds the firing pin. I'm calling it the bolt. Those come out and they separate. Then you can move to the front part of the gun, which has a handguard release lever, which, well, let me say this. First, you're going to want to tilt the gun until the barrel's in the air, because there's a piston inside the handguard, and if you have the gun pointed down, gravity will leave that piston just a little bit into the mouth of this tube right here, and it won't let you get the handguard off. So I've got to turn back so the piston's riding down, not in this tube here. And I'm going to turn this handguard release lever until it clicks. I don't know if you can hear it on the video or not. You can definitely hear it in person. You can feel it release and become loose. Handguard comes straight up off the top of the gun. And just by tilting it down, you can separate the piston I was talking about from the handguard and gas tube. Set those aside. Then inside, behind this handguard release lever, is a connector rod, and that has a very, very strong spring on it. If you just flip this lever up, it will shoot out, and it'll probably go several feet. So you want to take your finger and push in on that spring while you continue to turn this handguard release lever up until it's about 90 degrees. Then you can slowly let out that connector rod and its individual spring. You know this spring separate from the bolt return spring because the connector rod is actually separate from the spring, whereas on the bolt it's one piece. Also, this spring looks different. I don't know if you can see or not, but it looks like kind of two strands of rope woven together, and then two strands of that woven together rope woven together again. I call it rope. I understand it's steel or iron or whatever it's particularly made out of in this SKS, but it's very easy to tell apart. So that is the field stripped SKS. It's now ready to be cleaned, lubricated, whatever you want to do to it. Then for reassembly, same thing backwards, but I'll go over it again just in case. You want to make sure that your ropey looking connector rod return spring goes back on top of your connector rod. That whole assembly goes inside this tube here behind the handguard release lever, which must be at 90 degrees for you to put it back in. You'll have to push pretty hard to get it back down behind the lever, and then turn the lever so it doesn't click in but is far enough back that when you let go, that connector rod and spring don't go shooting out. From there, you want to get your upper handguard and gas tube, your piston, turn the piston to the gas tube, and in my own trick, I like to push it back to where just a little bit of the piston is sticking out of the back of that handguard so I can hang on to it. Because like I said before, if it slides down into that mouth, you're never going to be able to get the handguard back on. But of course, like this, once I have it mounted the right way, I'm fine with it sliding in. And in fact, if it sticks out, I won't be able to get the rear of this handguard back down onto the gun. So once that happens, I'm just going to push down with this handguard until it goes as far as it can. Then because the handguard is blocking the connector rod, I will turn this release lever up. I'm just going to kind of wiggle it really until it will let me put the handguard fully back on. Once that's seated in its normal position, you want to flip that lever until it goes all the way down, clicks back into position. You will hear it click in person, you'll feel it. So that's set. Then for the bolt and carrier group, you want to take what I'm calling the bolt and what I'm calling the carrier, and you want to make sure that this slant right here, sorry the camera works so bad, I'm working by myself and I don't have any cool camera mounts or anything, lines up with this slant right here. Those two notches will click together just like a kindergarten puzzle piece. Set those back in their own personal ramps. Slide them forward. Maybe. Yep. Then on your return spring, this is easy for me because mine sticks in the dust cover. You want to make sure that this coiled non-straight end goes into the bolt and the straight flat back end goes into the dust cover. I've heard about people having problems with their SKSs when they didn't put the spring back in properly. That's the proper way. Curvy end, bolt, straight end, dust cover. Put that in. Of course, first I'm going to take the dust cover release lever and pull it back out. Push that forward until it's properly locked in. Take the dust cover release, push it all the way in. Rotate it until the lever is parallel with the barrel. Get the bolt back, lock it back, and hopefully, as you can see there, it's now a safe and reassembled weapon. Thanks for watching.